So let's now get into how to insert a table using Microsoft Excel. So up until this point, we've learned how to create a title. We've learned the basics of Excel layout. We've learned how to create a basic data set with column names and titles and how to type into each of those columns and rows or cells. Now we're going to show you how to insert a table or make it a table. So things like sorting and filtering and using the functions we'll be talking about later on are a lot simpler to use and allow us to do simple calculations and make data analytics a lot more convenient for us. All right, so the first thing we're going to look at that same data set we talked about with inventory data set. I added some extra things in here. So you're going to see some duplicate names. You might see some duplicate numbers. You may see different numbers. You may see different counts of the same count. You see a bunch of 10s and a bunch of 5s. We're going to create a table and show you some of the things that happen when you do create a table to help us in the next lectures on how to sort and filter. So the first thing I'm going to do is, in order for me to create a table, I'm going to click this on one of the columns or one of the headers of the columns. I'm going to go up to my Insert tab, click Insert, and there's a bunch of different things in the Tables group. You have Pivot Table, Recommended Pivot Tables, and just your standard table. We're going to be using the standard table. And if I scroll over that, it actually gives me a shortcut. So it gives me the Control-T. Create a table to organize and analyze related data. Tables make it easier to sort, filter, and format data within a sheet. So I can either click this or go Control-T. So I'm just going to click it. And what's going to pop up is this little Create Table menu. And it's going to give you the range. So it kind of highlights the range, these little ants going around. And it asks if my table has headers. And I'm going to say yes. So it does have headers. But watch what happens when I click OK. My headers just jacked up my entire title because it assumes that the headers are going to be at the top of this where the title actually is. And that's what we don't want. That's going to mess up, be hard to sort. It's going to be hard to filter. So that's not what we don't, that's what we don't want. So I'm going to click off of this and I'm going to use the back button here. I'm going to go back to the set. A way to get around this is what we can do is we can click off the little chart here. We can right click, we can insert, and we're going to insert a row. Watch what's going to happen here. It's going to put a space or an extra row between that data set. So now what I can do is I can click that same column, go back to insert, click table, still has the headers. So my table does have headers. We'll check that off and we'll click OK. Watch what happens now. My headers become the actual titles of the columns, which is going to make it a lot easier to sort and filter in what we talk about in the next lecture. So we'll click, you can click on these little down drop arrows and it's going to come up with sorting features, how to check things off and how to sort, which we'll talk about in the next lecture. So again, we want to make sure there's probably a little space between our title. So we can, when we do insert the table with our headers, the headers are the column names and not the title itself. That's the basics on how to insert a table using Microsoft Excel. And we look forward to seeing you in the next lectures, learn how to sort, filter, and utilize this properly. Thank you.